Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 24 driver career mode with myself driving for RB in our second season as an F1 driver. If you did miss the last episode, Fernando Alonso claimed victory in Singapore for the Singapore Grand Prix, with Leclerc also up on the podium with him and Verstappen to extend his championship lead, claiming a third position. And for myself though, we just ended up choosing the wrong strategy. We should have boxed for the hards when we were meant to, but I just wanted to try and get that one stop in for the Inters. We were told by Mark that the rain was rocking up that a little bit sooner than expected, so I tried to extend the medium tyres to make a one-stop work onto the Inters, but unfortunately that rain just did not come until the dying stages of the Grand Prix, and we were only a mere 1/10 away from claiming a point in the end after that recovery in the last couple of laps. Max Verstappen, he'll go into this race weekend as the World Championship leader by 52 points to Lando Norris. Leclerc, he's into third ahead of ourselves in P4, and we're behind by only 10 points. Ricciardo's P15, 1 point behind Pierre Gasly, and the Red Bull, they lead the Constructors' Championship by 80 points to McLaren Ferrari. They're sitting P3 at the moment, so pretty good for Ferrari. RB, we're P6, 14 points behind Mercedes, and we're going to jump straight into the durability department to take a look at this major MGUH upgrade, which, if rushed, will only have a low 25% chance of the failure, and we'll get the upgrade in before this coming Grand Prix, so we're going to rush it and try our luck to get this upgrade in as soon as possible. And we've got some driver market rumours here, with Daniel Ricciardo not performing well at RB, which I can confirm since he is our teammate, and he is at the moment lucky to score points considering we have a pretty decent car under us now, so not surprised he may be looking for a drive elsewhere for next season. Maybe he's just not clicking with this current RB. And the weather forecast for the race weekend is looking quite interesting, with a splash of rain added in for the sprint qualifying, but a dry rest of the race weekend. So we'll take a look at the performance upgrades for the weekend. Red Bull continue as the fastest car, but not by much, as Aston Martin make huge gains, absolutely huge gains, to jump to the second fastest car on paper. McLaren also make progress to become the third fastest, with it being very close between Sauber and RB. All the other teams also bring upgrades, including Ferrari, Mercedes, Alpine, Williams and Haas. And let's get on to sprint qualifying.
It's a United States love affair with Formula One at the moment, so what a thrill for everyone today to see our drivers lapping COTA at full hot lap speed. It's the Circuit of the Americas, and it's qualifying.
And as you can see, it is very, very tricky looking conditions out there here in COTA. And coming to the end of our first flying lap, Lando Norris goes fastest, but us struggling with the rear end, just cannot get it to stay planted there. And we did not make any setup changes going into this session, as we nearly lose it at the penultimate corner as well, because I didn't really want to give myself a bit of a downfall in the dry conditions of the actual sprint race. We go P11, 7/10 away, so we've got a lot of time to find. So we go for another back-to-back flying lap here, and you can see there nearly a half a second improvement, and it will be a half a second improvement to put us up at P12, and I'm still not convinced that's going to be safe enough yet. We currently sit P14, final flying lap on a brand new set of intermediate tyres. We're over a second quickest, and I reckon that says there on my steering wheel that is a P2 here in the first part of sprint qualifying. A scruffy end to the first flying lap, but we definitely redeemed ourselves further on in the session. Norris is fastest in SQ1 by a 10th ahead of myself. Then it's Max Verstappen in third, 2/10 behind. Daniel Ricciardo in 12th, over a second behind, and knocked out into sprint qualifying 1. Alex Albon, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, Pierre Gasly, Logan Sargent and Lance Stroll all not making it into the next part of the qualifying, and we nearly have a similar moment as we did in the last session, struggling with the rear end, going through that very fast right-hander, and once again a wheel spin at the penultimate corner. But we come into the final corner now to get the power down. Daniel Ricciardo goes fastest so far in this session and will go P3, and that one lap was good enough to get us into the final part of qualifying, with Alonso fastest in SQ2 by a 10th to Daniel Ricciardo. Then it's Max Verstappen in third, 3/10 behind myself, in P5, 4/10 behind. Knocked out in SQ2. George Russell out-qualified by his teammate Carlos Sainz. Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton makes it now. Both Ferraris out of qualifying. Zhou Guanyu and Sergio Perez. Ocon now goes fastest in the final part of qualifying, and we lose the rear end once again, and that is now this time a half spin. We make sure we try and get ourselves out the way of our teammate coming through on his flying lap in the first part of this session, and we'll come around the final corner now to finish the session off on a brand new set of intermediates, and that is P8. So really struggled in this final part of qualifying, could not get any sort of pace coming out of the car. Max Verstappen, he's on sprint pole by a 10th ahead of Oscar Piastri. Norris in third, 2/10 behind, and myself P8, 7/10 behind, followed by Ricciardo.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint, not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position. And Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, Ocon, Tsunoda, Lightning, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Russell, Bottas, Hamilton, Joe, Perez, Albon, Leclerc, Gasly, Sargent, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
We came close to scoring points last race. Let's make it happen today, eh?
Yes, we did come very close to scoring some points, so hopefully we can redeem ourselves. We've got 2 opportunities this race weekend to score some points. We're starting on the medium tyres for this sprint race, and it's lights out and we're off for the sprint race here in COTA. It's a lot of wheel spin for ourselves, so hopefully we can get some moves going into this uphill braking zone. We make it 3 wide with Ocon, and I reckon maybe one of the Astons, and we make a little bit of contact there, and now we're going side by side with Ocon, and we run it very, very wide with a tiny little bit of contact there, and you can see now we're just getting so much understeer. I am very hesitant on turning in the car because of the wet session that we've just had, and this is going to be the first time back onto the dry conditions, so I just kind of forget how much pace I can really take through these S's here, and so that really just ruins my opening lap here, dropping all the way now down to P10. And remember, because it's a sprint race, that is outside of the points as we now go for a very audacious move around the outside of Hülkenberg. Are we going to be able to make this one stick? We have to get onto the power really early. No DRS just yet, but we've got the slipstream of our teammate Ricciardo just in front of us, so hopefully now using this slipstream we can slowly start pulling ahead, and you can see that the side draft as well helping us etch just a little bit ahead, and it was enough for us to outbrake him and go around his outside coming into this middle part of the circuit, and that is us now up into P9. As further up ahead, it's Alonso versus Carlos Sainz here for 3rd position, and it looks like Fernando Alonso will take the position away from the Mercedes driver there to claim a 3rd position, but it's Verstappen and Piastri who have bolted ahead out the front of the field. We've now caught up to the back of our teammate, and we are using the DRS to get ourselves alongside, and can we do a same move as we did on Hülkenberg around the outside? A little bit of a lock-up from ourselves, but I reckon we have sealed this one, and we have. That is us now up into P8. We're now back into the points of this sprint race. The recovery drive is officially starting now as we now catch to the back of Esteban Ocon, the driver that we were going side by side with through the S's before. I just forgot how to drive in the dry, getting so used to the wet conditions around here in that sprint qualifying, and we go around the outside as easy as you can, and that is us now up into P7 as we set our sights now to Yuki Tsunoda in that Sauber. A little bit twitchy on the rear end, but we will continue. And no, that is an engine failure for ourselves, and all of this hard work that we have just done to try and get ourselves back into a points-paying position in the RB here at COTA has just been completely unraveled. That is us now out of this sprint race, and I don't know what to say. It's always going to happen when you're looking like you're about to start getting some decent results going, as we now make the walk of shame back through our garage, get greeted by one of our engineers, but nothing he can say is going to make that feel any better, losing some very valuable points. So Max Verstappen will claim the victory here in the sprint race. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris also up on the podium with him. The rest of the top 8 here in the sprint: Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda, who we were chasing down before our engine failure, Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon, and Daniel Ricciardo. Hülkenberg was also a non-finisher alongside myself, and the reason for our engine failure, it was the MG UK that let go during that sprint, so we're definitely going to have to swap one of those out going into the next part of qualifying.
It's a United States love affair with Formula One at the moment, so what a thrill for everyone today to see our drivers lapping COTA at full hot lap speed. It's the Circuit of the Americas, and it's qualifying.
And it's time for qualifying round 2, except for this time it is going to be fully dry conditions for the entirety of qualifying here for the main Grand Prix. We'll come to the end of our first flying lap in Q1 here, and that is going to put us P4, so we're looking pretty good. But you can see that P4 lap time very quickly as the track starts to rubber in a little bit more during this session, dropped me all the way down to P15, so I was very much on the cusp of not making it through, but that final lap we put in was good enough for P3. Verstappen is fastest here in Q1 by 2/10 ahead of Fernando Alonso. Then it's myself in third, 3/10 behind. Ricardo sits P12, 7/10 behind, and knocked out in qualifying here. It is Zhou Guanyu, Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Nico Hulkenberg, and Logan Sargent as we now head into the next part here of qualifying. We're going to come around the final corner. We're on currently a set of used tyres, and that will put us P8, and we'll go around for another flying lap as we've now dropped down to last P15, and we just need to get this lap in, and that was on a set of brand new tyres as well, and that's going to put us into P8. As now we take a look at the results, it's Max Verstappen fastest in Q2, leading a Red Bull 1-2 to Sergio Perez by 400 cents. Ricardo in P3, so very good showing so far for the RB team. A 10th behind, myself in P8, 3/10 behind, and knocked out in Q2. It's Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda, and George Russell. And now we've only got to do the one lap here. We've only got the one set of brand new tyres. And where is this going to put us for the Grand Prix? I reckon that says P5 on our steering wheel, and it does. P5 for the Grand Prix, considering we only did the one lap, and it's a Red Bull front row lockout for the US Grand Prix, with Verstappen claiming pole position by 3/10 to Sergio Perez. Leclerc, he's in third, half a second behind. Myself, P5, 6/10 behind, and Daniel Ricciardo, P8, only 500ths behind myself.
Well, you don't need me to remind you that Formula One is now so beloved in the United States that we race here 3 times a year. But let's give respect to COTA, or the Circuit of the Americas, to give it its full name. This place laid the foundations for this moment and still remains the host of the US Grand Prix. It's the Circuit of the Americas then, situated 14 miles outside of the great city of Austin. This is a 3.6-mile lap with 20 corners, 10 to the left and 10 to the right, and top speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Overtaking opportunities are available into turns 1 and 12, especially with that rear wing DRS wide open. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Lightning, Stroll, Norris, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Russell, Zhou, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Sargent, and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And joining me in the commentary box today with the best view on what is about to unfold and some strong views on the action we're about to see, Naomi Schiff. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say they've got the better of them more often than not. Now, you're the racing driver in this partnership, so tell us about this racing driver. Put us in their shoes. How are they going to be feeling?
It's a very special time for the drivers. It's almost like everything around you slows down and you become hyper aware. So your nerves slightly go up, your adrenaline's going up. It's the perfect time to start focusing on your visualizations and preparing for the race. So you want to avoid distractions and really stay cool, calm, and focused.
We just missed out on the points last race, so let's go and get some on the board here today.
Luckily, because it is a sprint race, we do have a second opportunity here to try and score some points. As Mark was saying, this time round, there is a pit stop involved. It's a medium to the hard tyre compound as we get ready for the race start here in COTA for the US Grand Prix. It's a very long hold of the lights, but we are now away for the US Grand Prix, and it's a much better start for ourselves. We swing it to the outside where there is a lot of space, but the nose of Stroll is still sitting there, and we tag it, and that is going to send us out wide. A lot of wheel spin on the exit as we go all over the AstroTurf. We get a warning for the collision with Stroll, and that allows the top three to slowly start pulling away from us, but we managed to hold on to a P4 here as Lando Norris and Stroll behind. They battle it out, but it's going to be Norris who comes out ahead of the Aston Martin. Then it's Lewis Hamilton, our teammate Daniel Ricciardo in P8. P8. Fernando Alonso sits 9th, and Pierre Gasly in the Alpine currently sits in P10 as we come round to start lap 3, and we're already onto the back straight using the DRS. We've caught up to the back of Valtteri Bottas, and as easy as it can get done with the DRS, we make the move coming into this corner here, and that is us now up onto the podium. It's a Red Bull 1-2 RB in P3, so it's looking very good for the Red Bull family at the moment, with all 4 of the cars currently sitting inside the points. We get our first objective of the Grand Prix here, and that is to drain our ERS, and it's going to come in at a very handy time for us to need to dump a lot of battery here, as we got Bottas all over the back of us. He's had a much better exit coming out of that hairpin, so he's going to use the DRS to great advantage here. We are going to dump all that ERS to the point we've already passed our objective, but it is to no use, as that straight line speed of the Sauber is very good around here, and so he will slot back into P3. But as long as we can try and stay with him, which we have failed miserably at trying to stay with him, I was hoping that we can try and stay within the fight for P3, but now Norris is going to look to try and get by us, but he's made a massive mistake. He's locked up, and that's going to allow us to try and go for a bit of a switchback here, a little bit of side-to-side contact there, and we'll go back for another switchback, over, under again, and we got ourselves back into P4 here, back in front of Lando Norris, which I'm sure he's going to be absolutely heaving, because as long as we stay ahead of Lando Norris, we're pretty much securing Max Verstappen a World Drivers' Championship at the moment. So this is definitely going to look good for ourselves if we're trying to get that Red Bull seat, helping Max Verstappen to get himself another World Drivers' Championship, holding back the current reigning champion, Lando Norris. But he is now driven ahead and outside of our DRS. So we're now under attack from Stroll in the Aston Martin. He goes down our inside, and unfortunately, I just didn't have the grip to be able to hang it around the outside there at turn 1. But we're going to use the DRS now to try and see if we can't re-attack him and try and get that P5 back from him, because the more points we can score, the better for our little championship battle that we've currently got. We can definitely still try and get Fernando Alonso in the World Drivers' Championship, and we now make contact and we get damage from Stroll. We both lock up going into that corner, but unfortunately I was just going a little bit too more hot into the corner, and that has caused us to make the contact there with Stroll. So hopefully the damage is not going to be too detrimental, but you can see that I'm now really starting to struggle with the tyre wear, and right on cue Mark's going to come in and say that to watch out for the tyre wear, because this track chews up the tyres, especially with all the fast S sections, and we're going to send it back down the inside of Stroll, but we're going to get absolutely schooled by both Stroll and Lewis Hamilton. We're going to lose 2 positions just by going way too deep into the first corner there, and it's now Fernando Alonso who's looking to try and get himself ahead of our teammate to take away P8 from Daniel Ricciardo. He's going to look to the outside here at the end of the back straight. They still continue to go side by side. Will he be able to go through here and not make contact, just like how I managed to make the contact? And it looks like they'll continue to go side by side. This is absolutely wicked battling here from the AI. He'll continue to go around the outside, and surely he'll get the better traction on the racing line, and he'll use that inside line now through this fast right-hand sweeper, and that is him now up into P8. But it's Lando Norris who's now looking to be on the attack. He wants to try and keep his championship well and truly alive. He now gets himself onto the podium by passing Valtteri Bottas down the back straight with the DRS. And car number 1 is now onto the podium. And we're going to do a bit of an order check here now after the first 10 laps of racing. Max Verstappen leads a Red Bull 1-2 by 5.5 seconds. Lando Norris on the podium, Bottas in P4, then it's Stroll, Hamilton, myself currently sitting in P7, defending from Fernando Alonso. Then it's our teammate in P9, and Gasly rounding out the points. Charles Leclerc in P11, then it's Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri really struggling down in P14, Esteban Ocon, George Russell in P16, Zhou Guanyu, the 2 Williams of Alex Albon and Logan Sargent, then Nico Hulkenberg rounding out the field there. You can see though he does have a bit of damage, so through this first sector he's definitely going to be feeling that, hence why he's 5 seconds behind the rest of the field. As we get our next objective of the Grand Prix, we need to get past Lewis Hamilton, so we reckon we've got the pace to catch up to Lewis, but we're really struggling, especially in the first sector with the dirty air. I just cannot get too much closer, and especially with my overheating tyres that I'm now struggling with. But it is going to be to no use saying all of that, because Lewis Hamilton just has the much better pace, and he is going to get himself now ahead of Stroll, making it my job so much harder to try and get past himself for our objective. And you saw there as well, Alonso get himself past ourselves as Max Verstappen is now in the pits. The race leader pits for his what should be one and only pit stop from the medium compound tyres. He'll go onto the hards. The hard tyres are there, ready to go, and it looks like a pretty clean stop, and he'll be on his merry way. And for ourselves, we're also going to be coming in here on lap 13. We're going to go onto the hard tyres, just like I would imagine the entire field will be going, as this is going to be the pretty much one and only strategy to go for. A two-stop was on the cards, but I reckon you'll just lose too much time coming down this pit lane here at COTA, and it's going to be a pretty good stop. No! There's an issue with the right front tyre, and now we're being held. We're being held for so long to let the traffic through, and we've now come out behind George Russell, and at the start of this pit stop phase, he was outside the point, so we've got a lot of work to do if we want to try and score a point. And just like we did into the sprint race, going in very deep and going onto the back straight there, and managed to go around the outside of George Russell, and this time we will have the DRS to aid us down the straight, so hopefully we can try and defend from Russell. But ahead, there's a 3-car battle pack. They're all trying to get past Nico Hulkenberg, who is yet to pit and has still got that front wing damage. It looks like the the Alpine and the Aston Martin there of Fernando Alonso is going to get past him, but we're going to send it very, very late on the brakes, and we'll get ourselves ahead of Nico Hulkenberg there. And that was absolutely crucial, because you can see there that he was just going so slow, but not as slow as Pierre Gasly at the moment. He's on fresh hard tyres, and he just does not have any pace at the moment, so we're going to go around the outside in what is normally not really an overtaking opportunity, but we'll get the move done nonetheless. And now we've got our next objective, which is to try and save fuel. Why save fuel in this time of the Grand Prix? We're trying to save ourselves here. We've got 1.5 laps of extra fuel. I always make sure I try and overfuel the car just a little bit, just in case if stuff starts going south, I've got the opportunity to just attack. And this is exactly why I keep myself with a little bit of extra fuel than I need. And while all of that was going on, Charles Leclerc, he's managed to get the move done there on the Aston Martin and gets himself further up the field there, further up into the points there as well. And we're going to actually now be under attack from Esteban Ocon. So the driver that was going so slow just before, he is now attacking us once again. So maybe his tyres just needing an extra couple of laps to try and come up to temperature, and he'll go through past us at turn 1 with very little fight from ourselves, just because we've now got the DRS from him, and we can now go around his outside at the end of the back straight, and we should be able to get this one done pretty easily. We use a little bit of the curb on the exit, and we'll have to go down the inside of the next corner, and we give him a little bit of a squeeze on the exit, but that is the job done, and us now up into P9. And you'll notice there, Oscar Piastri, we said before, he was struggling. He was stuck in the field, and he has managed to work himself now back inside the points, and now he is attacking ourselves to try and take away our P9. We've lost touch of everyone in front of us. We're 6 seconds behind, but Oscar Piastri goes down our inside. I did try to do a bit of a cutback there, but he parked it perfectly on the apex to stop any sort of attack back from ourselves, and you can see that we're struggling to stay within his DRS. We've only just got the DRS from him, but we do manage to save the fuel as Mark's requested, and I just still don't understand why I need to save the fuel there. And we now take a look here at Fernando Alonso. He's chasing down his teammate, who's currently in a bit of a DRS train behind the Ferrari of Leclerc, who got by him not long ago. And that is now Alonso slowing down the straight. It was a pretty good sprint race for himself, scoring some good points, but now it's going to be absolutely nothing for him here in the Grand Prix. He'll DNF with some sort of mechanical issue, but we've now got our eyes on Carlos Sainz here, as he's looking to get himself now into the points. He has been having an absolutely awful season so far. He has been lucky to score points in a Mercedes. To be fair though, the Mercedes is really struggling in their R&D. They tried to poach us for a bit of a drive, but we declined their secret meeting after the third meeting, after just seeing the absolutely drop in performance from the Mercedes here. But Carlos, though, he is doing really well this week, and he's now got himself up into the points, and he'll be looking to possibly try and chase myself down in the final closing 5 laps here of the Grand Prix. I've lost touch to Oscar Piastri, and so I don't really have any slipstream aid from ourselves, so we're currently in no man's land, a bit of a 2-second gap in front of us, 2-second gap behind us, but the gap behind us is surely to get bigger now, as Ocon is looking to get himself back inside the points. He'll go around the outside at the end of the back straight, down the inside here, the next corner, and it looks like Carlos Sainz is actually going to keep his nose in it and try and go back down the inside. But as we've seen previously with these sort of battles, it's the person on the racing line is going to get the better traction, and that's going to be Ocon in this scenario, and he'll get himself now back up into the points, and that gap has well and truly expanded just that little bit. It's now 2.3 seconds to the cars behind us, and we've been told that we needed to achieve a very quick lap time, and we have done exactly that, beating it by about 3 seconds of the target lap time there. And Carlos Sainz is not looking to try and stay outside of the points. He's got a sniff of the points here, and he wants to try and make sure he can stay in the points. So he'll make a very late move down the inside at the end of the back straight with the DRS, and now he's going to have to battle with Esteban Ocon all over again, and he's going to go around the outside this time. And this will be very interesting to see if he can get the traction done, but we don't have to worry about that because he's managed to get the move completed before they even get to any sort of traction zone. He has now the 2 Ferraris. They're battling away. These guys are fighting for P3 in the Constructors' Championship. They currently sit third in the Constructors' Championship, but there is barely any points separating essentially the next 4 teams in it. It's from P6 to P3 in the Constructors' Championship. Could very well claim that third in this championship, and these two battling it out is taking a lot of risk for them to possibly lose at some points, but it's going to be Leclerc who will get himself in front of his teammate, and now cutting to the final lap of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, he's looking to take that position back away from his teammate, and he's going to go back up into P5, but it's going to be all eyes to Max Verstappen. He's going to come around the final corner of COTA here, and he is going to cross the line to win the US Grand Prix. And for ourselves, I've had an absolute mare of a final lap here, and we've lost all of that ground that we had to Carlos Sainz. We've run wide at the final corner. It's going to be a drag race to the line, and we will just hold on to this P9. That was a bit too close for comfort.
And with that, another year of Formula One draws to a close, and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen. The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team.
Max Verstappen is now a 4-time World Drivers' Champion in this F1 universe that we have got here, and he has also won the US Grand Prix. Norris will also join him up on the podium, but his title defense does come to an end this season, with Perez also up on the podium. Then the rest of the top 10 was Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, Oscar Piastri, myself in P9, and Carlos Sainz in the points. Fernando Alonso, the only non-finisher of this race. Verstappen has now got an unbeatable lead in the Drivers' Championship. Norris sits in P2. Leclerc is still in a championship battle in P3, 15 points clear of Fernando Alonso. Myself in P5, 1 point behind Alonso. Ricciardo P15. He's on equal points with Pierre Gasly, and Red Bull lead the Constructors' Championship by 94 points to McLaren Ferrari. They sit P3, and just look at how close it is. RB, we're P6, 15 points behind Aston Martin, and we are also now in a career-defining rivalry with Sergio Perez for championship points, and we're currently leading it, and we only need 36 more points to get the win in this rivalry. We've also got a new rivalry with George Russell, and this one is for our driver rating. I just need to get it up to level 92, and we have claimed victory in this one as well. And speaking of our driver ratings, everything has gained some points after this race weekend, and we have currently got an overall rating of 91, and our driver recognition against our teammate Daniel Ricciardo has gone up to 63%, making progress.
It seems as if you have a new rival. This is the perfect opportunity to show the world why you belong in this sport, and to show me why you belong amongst my very exclusive clientele. That's a joke. I love working with you.
So Elena there confirming our new rivalries, but this caught my eye in our email inbox there. Ferrari are possibly looking for a new driver for next season, which is interesting considering they've only just got themselves a Lewis Hamilton in their team, but we'll have to see how that all plays out. If you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next episode where we head to Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix.